Michelle Beyer, your host of Addiction Voices of Hope, heard here on WNPQ 95.9 The Light. Addiction Voices of Hope is presented by this month's sponsor, the Phoenix Recovery Support Services. Please welcome my guest today, a very, very special guest. Her name is Samantha Beyer. Yes, her last name does sound familiar, and that is because she is my 17-and-a-half-year-old daughter. And today, she's going to tell us her story of growing up with a parent who has an addiction problem. Thank you for being with me today, Sammy.
You're welcome.
Sam, how old are you? I think I said that earlier, but
Yeah, 17.
Okay, I gave you the half.
You did.
Yeah, I did.
Getting up there.
Okay. Well, this is a no-holds-barred interview. This is going to be very emotional for me. My daughter's going to be telling you what it was like before my addiction, during my addiction, and after my addiction. And Sammy, let's go back in time. Before your dad and I got a divorce and I started drinking, what kind of memories do you have of that time? Do you have any, at least one specific memory before I started drinking and we got divorced?
I would say it was pretty much like picture perfect. It was kind of like the American dream, how you like picture like the white picket fence, and I mean we had everything. We rode our bikes around the neighborhood. You were friends with everyone. Me and RJ were friends with everyone, and it was kind of perfect.
Yeah. You know, a two-parent family home, and I was Betty Crocker PTO mom for a long time. Do you remember how old you were when I started drinking? Do you have any remembrance of that age?
I'm pretty sure I was 7. I was 7 or 8.
Okay. Do you have any memories of me coming home drunk and tell me what it is that you remember at the age of 7?
It became the norm for you not to be home, and you acted funny. At the time, I didn't know what it was, but I realized that you were acting different, and out of nowhere, I know that the man in the basement wasn't there anymore, and
who's the man in the basement?
Dad. He usually spent his time downstairs.
That's where his office was.
Yeah, doing paperwork and stuff. And I realized that he was leaving. I realized that at Disney World something did change, because we weren't acting like this big happy family anymore, and I didn't quite realize that you were drinking. I know that you were never home, and when you were home, you were extremely happy, and you were kind of acting like a kid, so at the time, I liked it. But I know that whenever you came home like that, it did make RJ mad, and at the time I didn't understand why.
Now, you mentioned Disney World. I had gone to a lawyer and decided that I wanted a divorce, which of course I wasn't going to tell you or your brother, but I had planned a soup to nuts Disney World vacation because I knew that was going to be our last family vacation. And yes, you're right, on the very last day of that vacation, I was drunk at the tiki bar, as I was every night of that vacation, and I told your father, and I don't even remember what I said to your father, but I did tell your father that I wanted a divorce. But, so that's exactly right. Your feelings of what you felt during that time is absolutely right. Do you remember a lot of different men coming around that time? I mean, give me some more experiences of what you remember.
My worst memory I would have to say about a man would be coming home from the school bus and just seeing a new guy just standing on the porch. He was really scary. It was Steve, and I know that every time you had a new boyfriend, I was scared of them because they looked abnormal to me. I was used to, guys in suits and dad in his work clothes, but I wasn't used to these biker guys around, and Steve had hair that was longer than mine, and it was strange, and I also thought it was embarrassing, to get off the school bus and this strange man be standing there just waiting for us to get off the bus, and I was like, I swear, I was like, I don't know him, guys. I don't know who that is.
So you know, just pretended you didn't live there even.
Yeah, just I didn't want people to see that.
Okay, okay. What did you feel? You were totally embarrassed? Did you never want to come home again? I mean, tell me what you thought of these men coming in the house, and explain what you thought about all this.
I didn't understand why you were doing it. I was like, what was wrong with Dad? Why couldn't you keep him? And like, what's different with these guys that you like them better than him? And I also did not like when they moved in. I remember one of your boyfriends had 2 kids, and they moved in with us. And the girl who was around my age, who actually had the same name as me, she would hold me down, hawk loogies over my face.
Ew.
Yeah, we got, the little boy was just really annoying. Me and RJ got tortured by them, and we told you how much we didn't like them, and then you had them move in, and we didn't, like, I felt like you just didn't take our feelings into consideration, because that girl who would hold me down and torture me all the time ended up sleeping next to me every night, because she moved into my room,
Right.
and she would throw my stuff everywhere, all over my room, and I didn't understand why this family was crazy and acting like this, and why they had no manners. Your boyfriend, he was nice, but they were different
So you felt
than us.
violated.
Yes.
You felt your space was being violated.
Yeah.
Yes, and it was. It literally was, because I did take in some family members of other people. It just, yes. But do you remember me coming home totally drunk? And I'm going to ask you this question, and then we're going to go into break. Do you remember me, what age I was, or you were, I'm sorry, that I came home drunk and you were left home alone, and how did that make you feel? But we're going to take a short break right now. And if you have any questions for Samantha, please give us a call at 330-492-6881. Your host, Michelle Beyer, here on WNPQ 95.9 The Light. We're here talking with Samantha Beyer, and yes, that is my daughter. She is 17 years old, and she's explaining what she went through as a child before, during, and in my recovery of addiction. Samantha, when we left, I asked you about babysitters and being home all by yourself. Did that happen a lot?
Yes. When I was little and RJ wasn't old enough to babysit yet, he was about 10, you would leave us home a lot longer with the babysitter than you had told the babysitter. There was actually this one incident where you left us home for a few days with one of our older babysitters, and it actually got so long that our dad came to the house and found out that you had left us there for a few days with our babysitter, that he got so mad that he drove us to New Jersey so that we would have someone.
I remember that.
Yeah, so we would have someone to watch us. At the time, since I didn't understand what was going on, I was really excited. I'm like, we're going to go see our family. I thought that it was a special occasion or something. And Grandma, actually, when we got to her house, called you on the phone, and she was like, what are you doing? Like,
I remember that day vividly.
Yeah, your kids are sitting in my house, and I don't remember if you remember me yelling in the background. I was like, hi, Mom, we're at Grandma's. I was really excited, but I also do remember that it was somewhere around my birthday, because when Grandma heard that we were coming home, she decorated. Or it could have been within like a month of my birthday, but she did decorate for my birthday, so that we at least were having a happy occasion.
And before we go on, if you have a question for Samantha, the phone number again is 330-492-6881. Now, Sammy, you started, after that summer, I remember I wanted to call the police and have your father arrested for kidnapping my children. I remember the phone call, I remember the whole incident. I was very depressed, yet a few days later, a week later, I got used to you not being here. I didn't have to pay for babysitters, and my drinking got worse. But when you came home for you came back in September for August for school, and I didn't have any more babysitters. I started taking you to bars. Do you remember me taking you to bars?
Yes, I remember.
How about
that
giving
a
us,
lot.
a little synopsis of a bar incident, perhaps?
Okay. Okay. This is one of my favorite, if I have a favorite, stories to tell. Is on my birthday. I don't remember how old I was, but you brought me. First, we went out to eat. We were celebrating my birthday, and then you thought it would be a good idea to bring me to a bar afterwards and have me sing karaoke. So I don't remember how long we were there, but
Right.
that whole night I was up on stage. It wasn't even really a stage, but I was up there just singing my heart out to songs I didn't even know, having all these drunk people hand me money because I was singing.
And it was your birthday.
Yeah, and it was my birthday. I
And in
remember it
all-
was really sticky and disgusting too.
And in all reality, in my selfish phase, that was not for your birthday. That was
Yeah.
so I can have a drink, because it had been several hours since I had had a drink. And I knew that I didn't have a babysitter left for you, so I took you with me. But there were other times as well.
There was lots of times.
There were lots of times.
Lots of times. I would say for about my whole, like the end of elementary school for about 2 years and the beginning of middle school, I pretty much always went with you, even on school nights. I would spend most of my nights at bars or the pub, and you would find ways to keep me and RJ occupied so that you could keep drinking. You would scrape up change so I could go play a game, or try to get me drinks and stuff. And I remember you were always yelling that you didn't have any money, but you just kept getting drinks, and it was
Mhm.
bad. We would sit there for hours upon hours around all these drunk people. We would have some random old people who were really drunk talking to us and trying to bond with us.
And how did you feel about that? And how did you feel about that towards me?
How you said before, violated. I felt like my whole life changed out of nowhere. I went from being this kid who would go out and ride her bike around the neighborhood, hang out with friends, and then every night, exactly like around 6 o'clock, have to come home, and then we would have a family dinner, to never being home, always being at bars. We never had family dinners. We stopped saying grace if
And
we
your
ever
brother
did.
was babysitting at that point.
Yeah, when RJ turned 12, I remember you were excited when he turned 12 because that's when you can legally babysit.
Mm-hmm.
And
Absolutely.
so you would leave us home alone, and that, I didn't like that, because instead of him babysitting me, it was more him leaving, and he would go, we were at an apartment, he would go a couple apartments down to his friends, and I would be sitting at home alone late at night, scared. I didn't know when you were coming home. I didn't know where RJ was, and I was about 10 years old, and I'm in this apartment alone, and it's dark
Wow.
out for hours, and I felt lost. Sometimes I would call up my friends crying because
And you
I was
called your
scared.
Aunt Christy.
yes, that was the hardest when Aunt Christy died. Yeah, my aunt. Every single day after school, I would get on AOL, and we would message back and forth for hours, and she would always ask me where you were, and usually I didn't know. She'd ask me where my father was. He'd be at work. Where my brother was, I never knew where he was.
Do you remember how old you were?
When Aunt Christy died, I was 10.
So you were being left alone at the age of 10.
Yes.
Were you scared?
I was terrified because at the time I was scared. I was scared of the dark. I was scared of everything. Actually, I couldn't, even if there were a bunch of people in the house, I couldn't shut off a light without panicking and running out of the room. So being left home alone was terrifying, and it got worse when Aunt Christy got sick because she wasn't able to talk to me as much, and it was nice having someone around. But then when she died, I had no one. I had no friends because we moved to a different school district because we lost our house, and I had moved to a different school district. I had no friends there. I couldn't really keep in contact with my friends from my old school. I didn't have my aunt to talk to. No one was ever home,
Right.
so I was pretty much lost. And when I moved again in 7th grade in middle school in New Jersey, it was even worse because I did have those people in the house. I had Aunt Missy who was watching out for me and all my cousins, but I was being bullied.
Right.
And
okay.
so on top of you being in jail and rehab, I had people bullying me nonstop. I was online bullied. I was bullied in school. I felt like I couldn't escape this torturous
Okay.
life.
That, you know what, that's a story in itself, and we have to take a break. And if you have a question for Samantha, please feel free to call us at 330-492-6881. And these fine words from our sponsors that help us stay on air. And you're hearing us on WNPQ 95.9 The Light. I'm just we're talking with Samantha, who is my daughter, this morning. And if you have a phone call, the number is 330-492-6881. Please feel free to call in and ask your question. We were talking about bullying before we went to the break. What was that like for you, real quick here?
Oh, it was horrible. So with no one knowing what was actually going on in my home life and getting completely harassed at school and online, it actually one night got to the point where I almost killed myself.
Oh,
I
my
was
goodness.
I was thinking about it and I was breaking down, and the text messages and emails just kept coming in of them like destroying my self-confidence. And the only thing that saved me was actually my cousin Michael. I went into his room and we sat there and we had an hour-long conversation, and it made me feel loved. It stopped me from doing it. But I know that I was curled up in a ball on the top of the stairs saying that I didn't want to go to school the next day.
Did you think I loved you? Or did you think that I stopped loving you?
I felt like you abandoned me. I felt like you just weren't there after the divorce. You were never around. You never took care of us. It was bad. I don't know. It's just I felt like you weren't even my mother anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like that stopped when I was 7. Like you were just someone that we stayed with, but you were never there.
So, bringing us up to, you're in New Jersey, I'm in jail, I'm in rehab first, then I'm in jail, now I'm out of jail, and I moved to New Jersey to do probation, and I'm going to go home, back to Ohio, and I want you to come with me. What are your thoughts? Did you want to come home and live with me again? Did you trust me that I was sober? What were your feelings?
I did want to come back to Ohio, but that's just because of the whole bullying thing. But not necessarily move back in with you. I felt like you were unstable, that maybe you were sober again, but you were trying to control me, and I felt like that wasn't fair because you were never around. You never told me what to do. You haven't told me what to do since I was 7, and I felt it wasn't fair that I had to listen to you when you didn't even have any rules before, and you wanted me to like come home before dark, but before you wouldn't even be home before dark, so you wouldn't even know if I was, and you were on top of my grades, which I really needed in middle school in 6th grade when I would go do my homework, and I just was like, you know what, I'm not going to do that. And I actually remember one situation where I actually said, I threw my math book and said I wasn't going to do my homework, and you were sitting like right diagonal from me at your computer desk drinking a box of wine.
Oh, wow.
And you had the whole box of wine sitting with you and a cup that you kept filling up.
Goodness. So, what did you think about the box of wine? I mean, but that was before I came out of jail. That was before I reached recovery. So you're backing it up to my third DUI. I was sitting home that night with a box of wine, and I got a phone call of somebody wanting to go out with me, and I went to go pick them up. And what were your thoughts on that?
I actually tried to stop you. I was standing in front of the door. You could barely make it to the door, and I was like, "You're not leaving," and you were yelling at me, telling me to move, and I'm like, "You can't even walk. Like, how are you going to expect to actually get there?" And you're like, "Oh, I'm fine. It's just my heels. Like, they're too high. I can barely walk in them." I'm like, "You can." I yelled at you, and I was like, "You can walk at them during the day. You can walk in them at any other time. You are drunk. You cannot leave." And that went on for a couple of minutes until you started threatening to ground me and stuff. And I was like, whatever happens next, it's your fault. And I ran up the stairs. And I'm pretty sure I was packing to move in with Dad, because that was around the same time that we had decided that I was going to move in there, which lasted a week. But
Well, now today, I am 4 years, 10 months, and 14 days sober. How do you feel about me now? Do you think we're gonna have a relationship?
no. I feel like there's a possibility that we could have a relationship, like, hey, you want to go get dinner, or you want to go shopping with me. But I think that it is too late to have that relationship of you telling me, like, what to do, and judging me, and, like, trying to raise me, because when you say something to me, I don't really take it into consideration, because your words really don't mean. How I describe it to people is it's kind of like a step parent coming in and trying to tell you what to do. I feel like it's not really,
And you know that kills me, right?
Yeah.
You know that just absolutely kills them. My children, both you and your brother. You know, you don't think of me as your mom anymore. I mean, that is heartbreaking, because I raised you, but you're allowed to feel what you feel, and I have to deal with that feelings. And, you know, Sammy, I thank you and so much for coming on today, and the courage that you showed to be sitting across from me today is amazing. And we are out of time for today, unfortunately. We could probably go on for another couple of hours here. But the effects of alcohol and drugs affect your entire family. They don't just affect you. So please remember to fight your addiction, get some help. Go to my website, www.addictionvoicesofhope.com, and you can find all the information that you need to get help. And if you are out there and you want to help me fight this battle, also go to my website, www.addictionvoicesofhope.com. I'm sorry, a little upset here. Tomorrow, my guest will be Tracy Smith Molodano. She'll be telling us her story on addiction and downfalls and her triumphs. And I just have one little quick announcement. Hidden in Plain Sight will be tomorrow at the Summit Academy. Please have a great day, and remember to smile. This is Michelle Beyer on WNPQ 95.9 Light, Addiction Voices of Hope.